Buddy, this is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. It is great to be with you today. Day two of the mandatory minicamp is over. And so now I'm going to bring you my observations. I literally just left the indoor facility where the press conferences took place. Got a lot to talk to you about there. Very spirited day of practice, as was yesterday. And remember, you're installing so many new things. One of the things that I've talked to you about that I was so excited to hear from Chip Kelly was he talked about he doesn't have a system. He changes everything to fit the talent that he has. Well, and I've been telling you for years that's been a problem with the Raiders. But PG, Patrick Graham, changes his. And Devin White talked today about, how much he appreciates, the changes that PG brings and changes. And everybody's learning a new defense because there's new players and there's new skill sets. Um, Tyree Wilson talked about this, so I'm allowed to. They were working on being aggressive, talking about the defensive line and the defensive edges, excuse me, specifically about being aggressive, hands up in the air if you're not getting to the quarterback. And so you can become a defender, in screen or short passing situations. And so they worked on it hard. I spent a lot of time watching it today, probably, I don't know, 10 minutes. And then at the end of practice, they're going 11 on 11 and they call a screen and Max Crosby goes up, knocks the ball down, catches it, and gets a pick six. So that was very spirited. There was a little bit of a friendly trash talking scuffle, no punches or fights or anything like that. It was just fun with Max and JPJ also in practice today. But it was a very, very, um, again, I thought the spirit and the effort was great both days. I thought yesterday, however, though, you could tell they were installing some new things. It wasn't sloppy because of laziness, but it wasn't tight. Today was tighter. Was it perfect? No, but it's only day two of mandatory minicamp. And so I didn't expect it to be perfect, but it was improved. And that was a big observation today. Got several things I want to talk to you about. First is Amari Gainor. You may remember I told you I thought this is a guy that has the potential to be a very special football player. I told you, although his game is different, and it is different than Carl Banks, he does have some similarities. And I know that the defensive coaches, really believe in Amari. I believe in Amari. I think this young man has growth to go through, but I think he has potential to be a legitimate player and starter in this league. Today was the first time since he got here that I've seen him exhibiting leadership qualities and very vocal. On three different occasions, I saw him moving guys, putting guys in right spots, encouraging guys. And that's just another sign of maturity. I thought today was a very good day for Amari Gainor. Um, it was brutally hot today. Luckily, there was a wind. Um, and so, you can tell, especially rookies, that, some of them, getting into shape of playing in the desert was certainly there today. I'm not going to name any names because it wasn't because like they're out of shape and not doing their part. It's just an adjustment to go from, last time they played meaningful football was a lot cooler. And now, you're getting close to 110 degrees and you're out there exercising. I know at one of the OTAs, I'm not even exercising. I'm just walking around watching practice. I'm not one of those guys out there, battling. And but at OTAs, there was one day that I thought I got heat stroke. I mean, it was just bad. And went home and just laid down and drank a ton of water. And so there's that adjustment, and they're going through that adjustment, but everybody's in good shape and everybody is giving tremendous effort. I want to talk about couple of other players. I'm grabbing my notes here, so bear with me. Um, I want to talk to you about Dalton Wagner. This is a guy that came into the Raiders as a UDFA, um, and he's an interesting guy. He comes from Arkansas and looks the part. But I have to tell you, this is the first time, even including OTAs this year, but all last year, where you just felt like, man, there's a football player there, but he didn't seem to be stacking it, didn't seem to be building off any successes. And I talked to you when I did the roster that I don't think he'll make the 53 man, but you know, maybe one more year in the practice, maybe. The Dalton I saw today, he'll get on that practice squad. He's not going to get on the 53 coming out of the preseason unless there's a bunch of injuries, but he visibly moved better today. I was a little bit surprised. In fact, I thought, well, maybe it's just one drill. And I specifically stayed there and watched him over the course of several minutes. Today's the first, I've always liked Dalton Wagner, the kid, been impressed with his frame. Today was the first time he really impressed me with his play. And I thought that he moved very well. I'm going to tell you uh, another guy. I'm grabbing my notes here, so bear with me as I go through this. I try to get this podcast out to you as fast as I can, so I don't sit there and write down all. I just grab my notes right from the field. Um, I'll tell you a guy I thought that had a good day today. I told you yesterday about Sincere McCormick, and Sincere looked just as good today. But I'll tell you, Zamir White looked really good today. I was not surprised because I believe in Zeus. But he looked really good. He looked angry. He played angry. He played he played with an edge, and it was good to see him playing like he played at Georgia. And I was very, very impressed with Zamir today. Then I'm going to talk to you about a guy I've been talking to you about a lot, and that's Dante Thornton. I'm going to tell you right now, I think if the season started today, your three starters, your three starting wide receivers, Jacoby, uh, Jack Bess, and Dante Thornton. I think Dante Thornton. Now, the season isn't start today, so training camp's going to have a lot to tell us. But I'm telling you, Dante Thornton looks the part, and you can tell by what drills they're running with him and with who he's running with um, that they're big buyers on him. They believe in him. And Dante Thornton, to me, um, just the way he moves, his field knowledge, his football acumen, very impressive. There was a play where now I need to go back and explain. There is a term called plaster coverage. And so what happens is when a quarterback gets flushed out of the pocket and the play becomes like you're playing in the playground, where it's no longer designated and everybody's improvising. Um, that's the defender's job is to plaster all the offensive players. But Dante Thornton is so big and so fast that he's far over on the right hand side to the quarterbacks. If the quarterback's here facing you over here, and Gino begins to roll and he turns, reverses field, and flat out sprints and caught a beautiful throw. I mean, Gino put it right on the money. So Thornton catches it, both feet in bounds, goes out. Perfect throw. He did not have to slow down. And at his speed, it was a long throw by Gino. And there were even defensive players that were, making some noise. But I'm going to tell you, Dante Thornton continues to play really, really well. I want to talk to you about Hadir Ismail. I keep mentioning this guy. I think him and Ian Thomas are battling for tight end 3. And I think that it's a battle. I think Ian has I think Ian has the edge. I, yeah, I think Ian has the edge for sure. But it that Hadir Ismail, I just want you to keep your eyes on him. That guy, he can do some stuff. For those of you that are going to come to training camp, uh, make sure you keep your eyes out for that kid. He just looks the part. He's big. He's physically strong, and uh, he can do a lot. I want to specifically talk about one thing in particular um, that really impressed me today. I'm grabbing this. Bear with me one second, please. Michael Mayer had a play today for a touchdown, and this kid is playing like we all thought Michael Mayer could. Remember, I told you earlier, he runs the skinny route and gets open all of it. So he ran a route. Now, I need to explain something to you. Wide receivers and tight ends and those type of players, you want to make your cut at the last moment so that you don't tip your hand to defenders with what you're doing. However, especially tight ends and bigger wide receivers that aren't fast, they'll kind of, if they know they're going to the middle, they'll cheat, they'll shade a little there. So coverage goes in that direction. Michael Mayer went, so here's a corner, here's a safety. Mayer's coming right at him. And they're waiting to determine if he goes this way, the corner goes, it goes this way, a safety goes. And he waited till the last second to make his cut. So they both had to stay with him. So he took 2 guys with him and then put on some jets that I had not seen and went between them, split them, and got the touchdown. It was an unbelievable route. Um, it was a Pro Bowl route. And when it first happened, my first instinct was, well, that was a great play by Brock. And then he got up and it was still had Mayer's number on him. And I'm like, wow, because I'd not seen him do that. I saw some of that in college. I had not seen it since he's been a Raider. I saw it today. And I mean, you're sitting there and you're like, and I mean, I just like, wow, Michael Mayer. Wow. What a split. I think there's going to be a lot of competition for 2, 3, and 4 on the running back roster. Just Raheem is going to be really good. Zamir and Sincere. If I had to say right now, well, it doesn't matter because there's no pads, but it's going to be an interesting battle in camp watching that. That's something you're going to want to keep your eyes on. I got to tell you, so Aiden OConnell, and I'm going to be talking about this in a podcast on Friday. Please don't miss it. I am getting a ton of email about Aiden, and it's pretty much all the same question, and I'm going to answer it on Friday. I will tell you, he looks much, when I say smaller, he's not lost bulk, but I mean, this is the first time I've looked at him and thought, wow, you can tell he's been in the weight room. And consequently, um, that's been interesting to watch with him. But yes, he does seem to be slimmer and he does seem to be quicker. That's accurate. I want to talk about one other player here in my notes. And I mentioned him a minute ago, and then I'm going to get into some other stuff. But I want to go back to Hadir Ismail. He just keeps making plays. And is he the fanciest guy in the field? No. Is he the most talented player on the team? No. But he's just blue collar worker, grinder, just a grinder. And he's making a name for himself. And him and Ian Thomas are going to battle, but he's making a name for himself. That young man, I'm going to be watching him so close. in training camp with pads. All right, so um, interesting day. IPM spoke today after practice. We'll have that video up for you. IPM was exceptional, absolutely exceptional, terrific, as always. Though um, he talked about he wants to get better in his single man coverage, and I agree with him. By the way, but he was extremely good. Adam Butler was phenomenal. I told you all when he was missed a couple of OTA practices, there was no reason to panic. They were aware of why, and he was fine. Many of you know I have a great friendship with Adam Butler. It wasn't public, it wasn't my place to say anything, but the team was aware. Um, his wife is pregnant, and he needed to be with his family. So I told you there's nothing to panic about. There was nothing at all. Tyree Wilson spoke today and was phenomenal. One of my colleagues, I believe it was Adam Hill of the Review Journal, um, asked him a very appropriate and great question. I know I'm not the judge of media questions, but sometimes when I point out a question, people think I'm being critical of the question, and I'm not. Just about, is it a little unfair because of where you're picked, the expectations on you? And he said, no, no, it's not unfair. And I asked him, I told you this last year. Him and I were talking in the locker room, and I mentioned to him that he seemed to be back having fun. And he agreed with me because that first year was rough because it was a redshirt year. And I said, so last year you told me it was fun, that you agreed with me it was fun. I said, but now you're looking comfortable. And he agreed. He is comfortable. And that's good to see. And that's a very good sign for Raider fans. Remember, there were 7 sacks last year that he left on the field, but it was essentially his rookie year. And there was an adjustment period, and he has worked. He has always looked like a chiseled piece of granite. And I don't know how he does it. He even looks more impressive. It's pretty phenomenal. Moving on from him, Devin White spoke, a quintessential um, leader. You may remember I mentioned on yesterday's podcast that I had watched all of his film, and he appeared to me yesterday to be back to the old Devin. And so I asked him point blank, and again, I'm going to have this video up. You can go watch it. But I asked him point blank, you seem to be healthy and back to who you were when I'm watching you play now. And he admitted he was. It was a lengthy rehab process. And so when people say, oh, he's just a journeyman, no, he's a terrific player that was injured. And so people still wanted him around because of his leadership, but he wasn't 100%. He is now. And I'm just telling you, watching him and E-Rob together, and now another guy I want to talk about, Jeremy Chin. I talked to you about yesterday, just so vocal. I said to IPM, Isaiah Palomao, I said to IPM, you're used to Max being vocal, but man, what's it like having Chin? And he laughed. Um, this defense looks really solid everywhere. Corner is the biggest concern. Corner is the biggest concern on this defense. And I think you're seeing some depth at linebacker. I think you're going to, a little thin at safety, but I think there's a chance for some young guys to really come on. But I love the defensive line. I got to tell you, Tonka, Hemingway, and Tank Booth, two of the rooks. These guys, Adam Butler was joking. He needs them to don't be so intense. Have a little fun here. This is a game of football because they're so serious. Those two guys, I have to tell you, it's hilarious. It didn't matter if it was Adam Butler. It didn't matter if it was Max, Tyree, um, Adam. Those guys are just sponges. Like all the other vets are Pied Pipers, and they're just following. Tonka Hemingway and Tank Booth, they're pretty impressive young men and hard workers now. They were out there grinding, and they wanted no bit of just not playing in that heat. They wanted out there, and they were grinding. Very impressed. I thought Charles Snowden was excellent today. he did some things really, really well. Now there's no pads, but he did a couple of motions where he flipped his hips and was able to cause some havoc. He's a young man. I told you I projected to make the 53. I believe in Snowden. Um, I thought today, yesterday it was a practice and he did some things really well, did some things I wanted to see a little bit differently. And today I watched him a lot. I thought he was spotless today. Absolutely spotless today. Um, I couple other things that couple other things that stood out to me today that I thought were interesting was the amount of coaching. Now, some coaches scream, yell, embarrass, whatever. That's not this staff. And guys are making mistakes and they're walking over and coaching. Um, Last year, um, you didn't see a lot of that last year. You saw a lot of coaching last year. That's true. But these guys, it's one thing like when you're leading, and then there are guys that lead from the front. Like there was one assistant coach, not a position coach, but an assistant who took his shirt off during drills and he's just waving around like it's a rally rag, trying to get the guys hyped up and jacked up, and the guys bought in. But I was stunned today at the amount of teaching. I watched one particular part of the team that made three mistakes pretty close to each other. And I expected a coach to blow their stack. That would not have been inappropriate, in my opinion. And they didn't. They didn't. They didn't. Just went back and kept teaching. And you can just see the player's response. In fact, a particular player, after getting that coaching, next time he did it right, walked over and hugged a coach. So it's just a different atmosphere. It was a different, I mean, in the 6 years I've covered the Raiders, there were times when a player didn't want to screw up because they didn't want to get ripped. Some might say embarrassed. Then there are times it was like, all right, just get back in line. My bad. And almost no accountability. Here, mistake, toe coaching, mistake coaching, mistake coaching, mistake coaching. But it's, we're with you. We're with you. And I think that was a very big deal. Got a lot to talk about tomorrow on the offensive line. I'll get more on that tomorrow for you. But for right now, I'm going to stop right there. That's my day 2 observations. Thanks, everybody. God bless you and have a great day.